the first episode of Sleepless in Mobile. This has definitely been a work in progress with me and Justin. It's definitely been a dream of his for quite some time, and I kind of gave him a little kick in the butt by ordering all the equipment, so he has no other choice. But without further ado, I hope you enjoy the first episode. It is definitely, like I said, a work in progress. So bear with us, but this first episode is basically going to run you through who we are, why we are the way that we are. So it kind of lays a foundation for the podcast episodes to come. We hope you enjoy. Expecting some kind of interaction, like, yeah, I believe in Bigfoot. Because you do.
I do believe in Bigfoot. I mean,
you could come up with anything. Like, you could have just, led the conversation on somewhere, but he didn't say a word.
What's Bigfoot got to do with launching bodies into space? I mean, how aggressive you plan on getting to where you think you have to scream?
I mean,
I know I'm annoying and sometimes hard to deal with, but you don't have to get screechy.
I'm not going to disagree with you. You can be annoying.
I made you mad today without even making you mad.
You what?
So I made you mad today without even trying to make you mad.
And it's hard to make me mad.
That takes talent.
Yeah.
I'm a talented individual.
You really are. It takes so much to make me mad.
That may be what God gave me, the gift aggravating people.
I don't think that would be a gift. I really don't.
Hey, God made me this way.
I think
maybe not the aggravating part of it. Maybe I'm misusing my gift.
He made David, but he didn't make him an adulterer, so.
Easy.
I'm just saying.
Easy.
I'm just saying. 'Cause I'm saying Mommy knows best. Anyways.
Don't do more than 30 seconds of
Disney stuff, because they will definitely
really be coming after us.
Is my mic even picking up real? Because talking to yours, Justin.
I'm talking into it.
Okay. Because are they called phrase?
What?
What are they called? Like the lines that are on a recording.
I don't know.
Anyways, I don't have a whole lot of those, and you do, so I was just concerned.
Well, your light's not lighting up like mine is.
In more ways than one, let me tell you.
These light bulbs been dim for a long time.
The bulbs in my box have all got a little tinkle to them.
Tinkle or ring? Jingle, maybe?
Jingle. Yeah, they've all got a little jingle to them. My point exactly. I couldn't have a more pure and genuine example
of your lights not coming on, your elevator not going all the way to the top.
Why am I doing a podcast? Why? Why am I, of all people, doing a podcast?
Because of your random thoughts. They're show-worthy. I mean,
maybe not show host-worthy, but they're definitely show
guest-worthy. If your show host was a psychiatrist.
It's kind of embarrassing.
Why?
Because, you know how difficult it is to find like-minded people?
For you, it's got to be the hardest thing in the world. It's got to be harder than get this podcast set up to roll.
Oh, it is really hard. I keep my thoughts to myself most of the time.
You should. They scare normal people.
I mean, I really do, because I think some really off-the-wall stuff. And I'm constantly thinking. It's not like it's just random stuff.
Give me an example of one that you haven't told me.
Oh, gosh. But see, that's my thing. I have a really bad memory. So
that's true.
I have really random thoughts, but I have a really bad memory. So it's.
What's one you thought of today? I know you had one today. You got to have had one today. You've been awake for a while now. At this point, you've got to have one, dude.
Thank you. Thank you for welcome. That.
Much obliged. Come on.
I honestly haven't really had one today.
You done forgot.
We've been kind of busy today.
We have been busy today.
Yeah. When my mind is idle. That's whatever.
Ooh, that's a new one for me, because 5 years of marriage, and I ask you, do you not know how to shut your mind off? And
no, I say my mind is idle, but it's usually, I don't mean I'm not thinking anything.
Like, what do you mean by that?
I'm sorry, but there's like a spider
Where?
hanging in the air.
Where?
He's super tiny, but he's right here, right over the table.
Oh, come on, dude.
I'm sorry. I get distracted.
I don't know where he went.
No, what I mean
He'll bite me later.
What I mean by like my idle mind is when I'm overwhelmed by thoughts. Not thoughts. When I'm overwhelmed by actions. So like I'm driving and talking to you, or like
It's overwhelming to talk to me.
or like I'm playing with Emery. Like my brain is distracted from my deep thoughts. That's what I mean. It's
Okay.
not in its deep thinking mode because it's being occupied doing other things. Does that make sense?
I guess. But see, I can
It's
shut
whenever
mine
I'm-
off while I'm like just sitting there doing nothing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, well, no, I can't do that. No.
I can zone out like the best of them. And
No, I zone out, but it's not because
yeah,
I'm
but
not
you're in
thinking.
your head when you
Yeah.
zone out. When I zone out, I'm
And I zone out quite a
out
lot.
of it.
Like, people will be talking to me and, like, waving their hands in front of my face, and I'm just like, whoa. Like, I'll shake my head and be like...
Were you talking
What?
to me? Were you talking to me?
Exactly. But, I don't know, I like thinking about stuff that nobody else really thinks about. And it's not because I'm trying to think about something nobody else thinks about. It's just everything I think about, nobody else thinks about. I know that was...
Beautiful mind of Liz. What a flower it is. Because it blooms in the morning. And it's, what is they called? Daylilies? Where they close back up at night? Dude, starting around 10 o'clock, your mind closes up. Like, you
I
get...
don't know that daylilies do that. Do they
Which
do
one
that?
is it that opens up in the mornings?
It is, isn't it?
The daylily
Yeah.
or...
Isn't it?
Or
Because
morning dawn, or I don't know. That's a fishing lure color. Never
Don't even
mind.
get me started on flowers. I'm sorry if there's any like botanists listening to this or like flower fanatics.
Well,
We
you
don't know.
like flowers, though.
I love flowers, but I don't know like details about them.
Oh,
So
you know a lot of them, though. Anyway, that's besides the
I
point.
don't
Let's
know
get back to
a
your
lot of them actually.
flower of a mind.
I don't know if I'd call it that. It's more like a weed garden, but every once in a while you'll
Pluck
find
a
a rose
random one and
bush.
throw it out to Justin today and see if I can't make him
Hmm.
wonder what's going on inside my brain.
For instance, for the people that are like, what are they talking about? Me and Justin a few weeks ago were riding down the road and we were passing this cemetery. And for those that don't know us personally, which is probably
Most people.
most people, but I mean, honestly, right now, most people that are listening to this know us. But we, we're like, Grandma, listen to our podcast.
Both my grandmothers are dead. That's rude. Anyway, keep going. That was mean.
I mean,
I don't
my
have a
grandma's
grandma.
dead too.
I don't have any grandparents. That's besides the point. Nobody needs to know
Yeah,
that.
I mean, geez.
Nobody needs to
Justin.
know that's why I'm messed up in the head.
Well, we
Go
just
ahead.
lost half our listeners, which is
I was going to say
one
something
person
really
because
messed
there's
up.
only two people listening. What?
No, I'm not going to say it because it's really messed up. Go ahead.
Yeah, you do have messed up thoughts.
Continue. My grandmother's died when I was young.
Well,
Continue.
you're the one changing the subject.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So me and Justin were driving down the road and we were going past these rolling hills of a cemetery. And I was obviously being quiet, I guess. And Justin asked me a loaded question.
Mistake number one.
He said, "What are you thinking about?"
Mistake number two was saying it out loud. Mistake number one was thinking, I should ask her what she's thinking. Mistake number two was asking her what she
I
was
don't think
thinking.
it's a mistake, though. The mistake is you not interacting with my
I can't.
thoughts. Anyways, let's continue. Gosh, we're getting distracted. So he asked me what was on my mind, and I just looked at him and smiled, and I was like, that's a loaded question. That is a loaded question. And he was like, what are you talking about? I was like, all right, well, if you really want to know. So for the people that want to be able to feel like I was visiting with them, I totally get it. I really do. So I'm not trying to say we shouldn't have graves or graveyards. But my thing is, like, people die every day. And just think about, like, decades down the road, how many more graves and grave sites there are going to be. And right as of now, I mean, we're still, like, trying to buy land is really difficult because everybody wants some land. It's high as I don't know what. And
Higher
so
than
everybody...
Senator Socks.
So, like, everybody is, like, trying to rush and outbid the other person on this land, and it's usually, like, 10, 15,000 an acre. An acre.
Or more. I mean, in some areas, it's
So how
You pay
many?
$60,000 for a quarter acre.
So how much longer is this going to be sustainable? Is what I told Justin. I was like, how much longer are graves going to be sustainable? Because we're eventually going to run out of land. We're not making more land, so we just keep taking it up by just burying dead people in it. And that sounds awful, but I'm over here like,
Can't buy that plot of land. There's 6 dead people right there.
Well, I'm just saying, like, it's not sustainable for future generations. So what is the solution? Do we cremate? Is that the way we go? Because some people have a religious offense about cremation. Like they don't believe in cremation, or it's just not for them. They don't want to think about their loved ones being burnt up and turned into ash. So then, like, I was like, what are they going to do in the future? Like, ship them out into outer space? But then...
Gonna have Elon build a body cannon.
My thoughts
there goes Uncle Larry. He just busted through the stratosphere. God rest his soul. He's a good man,
So, okay. Well, then my thoughts went to, what about landfills? Because they
just start dumping bodies.
Seriously.
People have tried that, and they usually go to
Justin,
jail
I'm
for
not
it.
talking about putting bodies there. I'm talking about the acreage just hundreds of thousands and thousands of acres that are just being used for our garbage. And don't get me wrong, I throw away garbage every freaking day.
A sack full out of the can every day.
And it's diapers, it's plastics, one-use plastics. Come after me, like.
Environmentalists, tree huggers.
One-use plastics all the time. And we don't recycle. We live in South Alabama. There's not much resources. If I really wanted to, I could save up on my cartons until they're, like, completely disgusting. If you wash them out, it's different. But, like, I don't know.
It's going to take the time to do that crap.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, we're some backwoods country people around here. Nobody's recycling anything. So, like, how much longer are landfills going to be sustainable? What do we do then? Do we, like, send all of our trash to outer space and, like, clutter the stars? Like, what do we do? But then I got to thinking about that. I'm telling you, this
Here we go.
Loaded question.
This flower has bloomed.
Loaded question. Then I know this is really deep, and it's not something that I'm very knowledgeable about. So I don't even like bringing it up because, don't get me wrong, I'm not knowledgeable about most stuff. but
That's a fact.
Hush your mouth. But if we keep sending stuff into outer space, like we have all these satellites out in outer space, right?
Wouldn't you hate for a dead body to block the internet service?
Shut your mouth. We have all these satellites in outer space. We have like the space station and like all this stuff that we send into outer space and into orbit from Earth. That's material that no matter what, so like plastic, even though it's plastic, it's still made out of materials from the Earth, right?
Right.
And if we keep sending all this stuff into outer space that was made from the Earth, isn't that going to change the weight? The weight of the world? Like, I know, like, the world is suspended
float off orbit.
I know the world is suspended in, like, space, and it doesn't really have a weight to it, but isn't that going to affect us somehow? Like, sending these materials out of our atmosphere? Because it does change, like, it has to change something. I don't know. I'm not smart enough to know. So if anybody out there knows, like, doesn't that change something about...
Yeah, but...
it might not be a big deal now because we haven't sent that much stuff out there. But if we just keep sending stuff out there, like, what's going to be the salute? Like, what's going to happen?
Can I ask you this question?
Of course.
Okay. I see your point, and it makes sense to a lot of people.
Yeah.
That don't think at all. What did the Earth do before all this stuff was built on it?
What do you mean?
Like, before all this stuff was built. That they're shooting off into outer space.
I guess I don't understand your question.
Like, the satellite wasn't always here before they shot it off into outer space.
Right?
So
what? I don't understand your question. Maybe you should ask me a question.
Like, you don't get what I'm saying? Like the satellites wasn't always here before they shot them off to outer space.
So we didn't have the internet? Is that what you're trying to say?
No,
Like,
dude, we didn't have the weight of the satellite here.
What?
Right?
We did have the weight of the satellite here
sense?
because it's the weight of the materials of the satellite that was on the Earth. So now that we send it into outer space, the Earth no longer has that weight of the satellite. Do you get what I'm saying?
I don't think it makes sense. One of us is not making sense.
It doesn't. We don't
Now
have
that
to
I
make
think
sense.
about
This
it,
is just like
Now that I think about it, it's probably me that's not making sense.
it's just a
Never
thought
mind.
that went through my mind. It doesn't have to mean that
Yeah.
we make sense.
Scratch what I said. What I said's dumb now that I think about it. Scratch what I said's stupid.
It's not stupid. I mean, any idea is not stupid.
Do
It's
you
just
think,
it needs to be talked
I just
out.
had a weird thought. Do you think the
Wow.
Leaning Tower of Pisa is leaning, helps the Earth stay on its axis and rotate properly? That's why it's leaning?
Maybe, Justin. Maybe. There you go. Your one random thought.
There you go. I had one.
There you go.
Proud of myself. I should have
You-
wrote that down. We should have took a picture of this moment. Anyway, continue on with your theory.
No, that's it.
Oh, that was
Like,
the sum of your theory.
yeah, and then Justin just didn't say anything. After I told him all that, which, I mean, granted, it was a mouthful. And he didn't say anything while I was talking. Like, he didn't interrupt me or anything like he just did like 1,000 times. But he didn't say anything. Like, he didn't.
How do you respond to
he
that?
didn't
Just off the cuff?
You didn't contribute whatsoever. Or just like, I don't know. Like, I'm expecting some kind of interaction. Like, yeah, I believe in Bigfoot. Because you do.
I do believe in Bigfoot. I mean,
You could come up with anything. Like, you could have just, like, led the conversation on somewhere. But he didn't say a word.
what's
and we
Bigfoot
just,
got to do with launching bodies into space?
It's better than saying nothing. I can't stand to, like, give Justin one of my great deep thoughts. And then he just, like, turns it into mush. That's what it feels like. I feel like I presented this beautiful, beautiful
Piece
thought,
of Play-Doh
and
art,
he just,
and
like,
I just
crushed it. He's like the bully in the playhouse. It's like, bah!
I mean, when you hit me with that stuff right out the gate, I don't have nothing to contribute.
But see, that's just baffling to me because my brain's always willing to contribute to somebody's crazy thought.
Dude, look, if you're not talking about
But no, look,
fishing
so,
or deer hunting, I'm disconnected from most of the world.
That's true.
I don't think everything else is dumb to me. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
I told my sister-in-law, my brother's wife. I told her about it yesterday, about our conversation.
Wasn't gonna be your sister's wife.
What?
I said it wasn't gonna be your sister's wife.
Well, my sister-in-law could have been your your brother's wife.
Edit
I
that
said
out.
it correct.
Edit that out.
So crazy. See, y'all, he treats me like I'm an idiot. Stop.
I get it right 90% of the time.
Anyways, my brother's wife, my sister-in-law, I told her about our conversation yesterday. And she was like, I completely understand how Justin feels. And I was like, what? Like, I was expecting her to be on my side.
I told you.
We were going to see the Barbie movie. Like, I need woman power. Like, I need you to be on my side.
I told you.
And
There's not that many people in the world that think the way you think.
Wait a second, though. Because she said, I completely understand how Justin feels. And I was like, what are you talking about? She said, your brother thinks the exact same way. I was like, of course he does. We're freaking kin. Of course he does. And she was like, no, for real. He'll be going down the road and just tell me some like random thought that goes through his head that nobody in this green earth is thinking about.
Exactly.
And I don't know how to respond. And I was like, just respond. I don't understand.
Well, you're gonna be
how
like,
you
yeah.
understand.
Yeah, babe, that's an interesting fact.
I mean, yeah, just say that at least.
But then that's not enough for you.
Yeah.
You want me, you'll be like, elaborate on that.
I want you to come up
It's
with
an interesting
thesis.
fact. I'm not writing a thesis on what an interesting fact is to satisfy your conversational whatever.
Conversational whatever. I mean, I guess that is what you consider my thoughts is conversational whatever. Thank you for that.
I mean, sometimes I can give you a rebuttal if it's something I have a little bit of knowledge or interest in. But, I mean, the only other thing I could have said to you is, yeah, maybe somebody should have thought about that. Maybe they should have buried people 18 feet deep and worked their way up to 6 feet, then you could have triple stacked your family members
That's an
together.
idea.
You know what I'm saying? You could have had, mom, dad, brother, one grave, move over to the double headstone, put sister, cousin, auntie, whatever.
I guess I would like to be a part of the people that make those decisions.
Oh, no. That'd be a bad idea.
Just at least be a fly on the wall in those meetings to be able to understand like how they're going to solve that problem.
Be like, excuse me.
Granted,
yo, lady in the back here.
We're Christians, so we don't really believe that we'll probably even come to that. But my brain wants to continue to think past that if it were to happen.
Right.
Because, I mean, think about it. Back in the day, like, they were like, oh, we're definitely going to be raptured out of here before 1900. 1901 hit, and they were like...
3 billion people later.
Hit. My bad.
We're 3 billion people later. Or Utah.
Utah.
It's on my list of places to vacation.
Utah is beautiful, though, for real.
It is. I've seen
I
pictures.
can't think about Utah, though, without thinking about those...
Mormons? Oh.
Yeah. Couldn't think of the name of them. So
Utah Jazz?
No, I was thinking about Mormons. I was thinking about
Salt
Mormons.
Lake City.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Never mind. I was going to say something and it would be very off color, so I won't say that. But yeah. I'm sorry. It just makes me laugh every time I think about it.
Say it.
I don't want to say it.
Why not?
Well, we'll beep it out because I want to say it. But it's just messed up.
Say it. If you don't, we're not going to get into detail in that. But if you want to look it up,
no,
look up.
Nope, we're not. We're not keeping this in the podcast. No. We have way too many good people in this podcast listening to this podcast potentially that I would not want to
you can always
share that with.
It's bad. Let's go back to the one you had 3 days ago that I was like, what?
I'm sorry. I know that was probably loud in the mic.
I mean, I have never even, this thought has never crossed my mind.
Well, mine either. That's why it's a random thought.
But it seems like, anyway, let's get into it. So we're riding down the road.
Yeah.
3 days ago, 4 days ago, something like that. And you're looking out the window. I didn't ask this time. I didn't want to know. I was afraid of where it was going to lead.
Graveyards.
She looks over at me.
Landfills.
With this true, genuine curiosity in her eyes. And goes, you ever wonder? Leaves are like solar panels.
Oh, gosh.
For photosynthesis, the big wide ones on most trees, they help absorb the sunlight for photosynthesis to create the sugar for the plants to eat, blah, blah, blah,
photosynthesis
blah, blah.
To be able to create the sugar?
Ain't that what that does?
Yeah, it's the process.
Yeah, anyway, don't interrupt me.
Sorry.
I'm continuing on with this weird thought. And then she tells me about all that, and then she goes, you ever wonder how pine trees do it with those thin little needles? What are they absorbing with those thin little needles? They don't look like solar
obviously they're
panels.
absorbing sun. It's just impressive because they're so small and so thin.
But, I mean...
And they must not be very good at it because they shed a lot. So, it's like a once and doneer.
Unless it's an evergreen, they all shed.
I mean, they're evergreen, but, if you've ever had a pine tree around you, you know that they shed pine needles like crazy.
Enough of it.
I'm just saying, this is just a thought that just popped into my head. They must be, a once and doneer.
The best at photosynthesis?
They're not rechargeable batteries.
So, one shot.
Yeah, one shot of sugar to the tree, and it's just falling off the tree.
It's like one drug needle.
Jeez, well, take that to a dark place. Okay. We don't do drugs for anybody asking. Justin just knows a substantial amount about drugs because of where he grew up, I guess. And you didn't grow up in a terrible place. It's not like you grew up.
No. It's not. My parents are not drug addicts, mind you.
They're going to thank you for saying that, Justin.
Let me make that very clear.
What the heck?
I just want to make that very clear.
His parents are amazing church-going people. They are not drug addicts.
But the rest of my family are drug addicts and alcoholics.
No, your aunts are going to kill you.
Okay, hold on.
He
All
has
right.
a few people in his family.
A few. Everybody that you don't know, there's a reason why you don't know them.
Mm.
They're all, hitting the sauce or
Jeez.
little buzzed up from a little nighttime run they made.
I won the jackpot.
I'm a genetic gold mine.
I believe it.
So
I believe it.
Everybody in your family is good people. I've
Yeah.
met your family all the way down to like your 6 cousins.
Yeah.
Because you know why? They good people. Them's is good people. There's a reason why you ain't met mine.
Yeah.
You hadn't been past my first cousins.
Mm.
Think about that. That's the difference between my family and your family. And
Well,
when I say,
how many first cousins do you even have?
4. I come from a little old bitty immediate family.
I have over 20 first cousins.
Well, whoop-de-doo.
I'm just saying, dude.
You know, it was a counting game.
I mean, it's not. That's just how big my family is.
Yeah, see.
And the ratio there for good people versus bad people. I'm just saying, like, I got a freaking good family. Now, we got some quacks in our family. Don't get me wrong. Like, we have some people that we'd rather... Well, I don't... My family listening right now is like turning their
Who's
volume.
she talking about?
She's turning the
Just
volume
wait
up
for the family reunion in
she
October.
better not mention me.
Oh, she mentioned our name.
They
on
good
the
people and all,
internet.
but... yeah.
But, dude, we could do a whole show on my grandpa alone.
Yeah.
I mean, that cat right there, boy, my dad's dad. I'll be the first to tell you, he was a horrible role model. I mean, he's not somebody you want your kids to hang around.
Yeah.
He just had some vices. He had some demons he dealt with. But, I mean, when it come down to it, he loved his grandkids for the most part.
Yeah.
But dude was wild. Like, he could have been on Jersey Shore. Like, if he would have been a young man, he was that wild.
Really?
He was that wild.
I used to love Jersey Shore.
I've never watched an episode.
It was not a good show.
So that tells you a lot about my granddaddy.
Yeah.
He would have been the party animal.
Yeah. That's crazy.
But his vices caught up with him at a relatively young age, and that's what took him. So
Yeah.
it's kind of why I chose not to go down any of his routes, even though he was a big influence in my life.
Yeah.
I didn't let his vices trickle down to me.
Yeah. I know Justin has like a set of antlers that his grandpa had from one of the deers that he killed.
It's the last good deer he killed.
If anything were ever to happen to those, he would murder whoever did it, including me. Like, I'm not even kidding. I really do think he would.
Up out of reach where nobody can get a hold of them.
Yeah.
Just
at the house, like whenever we had our house, like they were in the guest room closet and like
put up.
Nobody could touch them. And then moving, like it was like they almost needed to be in one of those
Pelican cases, you know.
Yeah.
Almost like it's got the launch codes for the government in it.
I mean, he loves his grandpa. And if you talk to him too much about it, he'll get misty-eyed, which I think is sweet. My grandfather... We'll talk about my dad's dad since you talked about your dad's dad.
Okay.
I don't know much about him. He's passed away as well. He passed away whenever I was in middle school. I think you were in middle school when your grandfather passed away.
I was a freshman.
Okay, so you just out of middle school.
Yeah.
Well, I was in middle school whenever mine passed away. I don't want to like bash the man or anything, but from what I've been told,
he had some vices. That's all you got to say.
He had quite a few vices. But my dad came out of it, and you would never have known that his dad had those issues by the way he raised us. So I like applaud him. Like, he has a lot of vices himself, my dad does, but he is an excellent person compared to how he was raised. Right. You would just never know that that was his childhood. Like, my grandfather was an alcoholic. Like, he ran out on the family, would like spend all the money on booze, and this isn't really my story to be able to tell this, so I shouldn't really say much. But I'll ask Dad before we like upload it if I can say it.
Yeah.
He'll probably say no. So I might have to edit this out. So my dad was 11 whenever my grandfather left for the first time. At least that's what I've been told. I'm not quite sure how long he was gone, but he gave my dad the keys to the truck and shot out of there. My dad was 15 when he got his first job in the shipyard. His Uncle Henry was kind of aware of their home life and offered him a position down there if he would come down there and apply. Well, my dad, not having a driver's license, rode his bike down there, which was a 3-hour one-way trip. He was able to get a job even though he went to the wrong side of the shipyard. They didn't know who Henry Brown was. They asked him for his driver's license when my dad said that he was 18, and he told them that he didn't have it anymore, that it was taken from him because he had too many speeding tickets. A little while later, after working there for a few months, I believe, his Uncle Henry asked him, "Why didn't you come down there and get a job? I told you to come down there and I would get you a job." And my dad was like, "I've been working down there since a day after you told me to go get the job." So, yeah, he's had a job since he was 15. Like, he's just had a very rough upbringing. And we were talking about my grandpa, so let me go back to him. The only interactions I really ever had with him, I mean, he would come to our house for Christmas or something like that, but we really didn't talk to him too much. We'd go to their house every now and then, and I remember rolling down the window, and he'd be standing there. There was like a 90-degree turn in the lane to their house, and he would be standing there in the corner of that 90, and we would roll down our windows, and he would hand us like little Hershey's Kisses. And that's like my interactions with my grandpa. And that's the only Brown, like the only real bloodline Brown that I knew in my life.
Other than your aunt.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about like my grandpa's family.
I got you.
Obviously, my dad's siblings I know, but
well, let me paint you a picture of my grandfather when you showed up to his house. So he wasn't a big man. He was about 5'8".
Yeah,
about $150, and it depends on how long of a bender he had been on.
Mm-hmm.
What visual you got when you showed up.
Mm.
If he had been on a several month bender, just drinking straight, like when I was born, he was drinking a gallon of whiskey a day.
Yeah.
A gallon of whiskey, rot gut whiskey, like bottom shelf, Cadillac Club. If anybody knows anything about old cheap whiskey from back in the day, Cadillac Club and Canadian Mist, right? Yeah, because Canada Dry is a ginger ale. I used to get them confused. Canadian Mist, like cheap, just ugh. So if he was on a bender, like I said, for several months, you walked in his house, he always kept his hair combed like Elvis, sort of. It was shaped kind of like Elvis's hairdo. And he had about 4 shirts. And that was it. A couple pearl snaps. One of them was a white see-through. Kind of looked like a something you've seen on Garth Brooks in the 80s. And it would either not be buttoned or have one button at the bottom button. Barefooted, sprawled out on the edge of his couch.
Yeah.
Drunk. That's the one version you got of him. If you got him where he wasn't on a bender daily, and he was like every other day or so, you go see him and he was sober, you'd get him in a t-shirt, pocket t-shirt, pair of jeans, pair of Walmart work boots.
Yeah.
That's the man that I remember the most.
Yeah.
So that's the one that would riding me around. We'd go do this, go do that, take me up and down back roads, and that's how I know how to navigate so many different
And you
back
navigate
roads and stuff. Is
all
because
the back roads.
is because of him.
And I have no idea where we're at half the time until we like pop out on some street that I'm familiar with.
I'm gonna tell you a good story about me and him when I was little. I remember this. I couldn't have been no more than 4 or 5, but I remember it so well. I don't know why. But he had run out of whiskey one night, and we lived north of Citronelle, in between Citronelle and McIntosh. Most people are not going to know where that's at. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, they can Google it.
So we go to the liquor store, get him some more
And
whiskey.
how old were you?
Like 4. He was
Jeez.
drunk driving with me. Like,
That's
my
awful.
parents worked night shift back in those days.
Yeah.
So my grandma she had either just passed or she was fixing to pass when this happened. So I was 3.5 to 4.5, somewhere in that area. She passed when I was 3.5. So I remember coming back. We were about 5 minutes away from the liquor store by the old paper mill or the old lumber mill. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Right
Around
there.
the S curve.
Boom. Cop hits us.
Mm.
I don't know to this day how that man got out of a DUI. He smooth talked his way. I was sitting in his lap. It was drizzling rain. It just got dark. Window was rolled down. He was holding me in his lap against the door and driving with his other hand. Drunk. Fresh bottle of whiskey over here we just picked up. That's the kind of dude he was. And I tell you, the man was wild. He was wild.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's the reason that your parents wanted to leave that area, though.
Yeah, that's why they got out of there. Because at the time, we lived with him.
Yeah.
Like I said, my grandma, she was getting ready to pass or just passed. I think she had already passed.
And from what I hear, she was a really good lady.
She was.
Yeah. Salt of the earth type person.
Both my parents come from jagged home lives because of their fathers. Their mothers were... I didn't know my mom's mom. Their mothers were solid gold.
I could kind of say the same thing. My grandfather's still alive though on my mom's side, so I don't really want to say too much. He wasn't a bad man. It was just he's got
a little grumpy. Sometimes.
That's a good word. Maybe he won't
Grumpy.
get too mad if he hears that I called him grumpy on a podcast.
I think it's okay for an old man to be grumpy.
Yeah.
It's not okay to be my age and grumpy.
He wasn't always this old.
But he's always been this grumpy.
Anyways, I'll leave it at that. He's still alive. So I don't want to talk about him. I mean, I don't want to talk about, most people, but especially when they're alive. They can come after you.
Well,
I don't
if
know.
mine was alive, he'd be like, tell my story, tell my story.
Yeah.
He would love
I don't really know anything about my Grandpa Brown, so I really don't know how he would
he was in the military,
react.
though, wasn't he?
I'm sure reluctantly. I don't think he probably went with a joyful soul in his heart. I forget what he did. I think he was on an aircraft carrier. I could be completely wrong about that.
Your Grandpa Brown, right?
Yeah.
Your other grandpa was in the Air Force.
Yeah,
Air Force, right?
My Grandpa Moses was in the Air Force. Yeah. I'll do some name dropping.
I have no military. I had a great uncle in the military. That's the closest.
Yeah. Well, my first cousin on my dad's side, actually both of them, they were both Marines.
Hoorah!
Can you say that if you're not a Marine?
I don't know. It's probably not.
I don't know if you can or not. I mean, I know it's supportive. I don't really know. I was literally curious. I mean, I wouldn't say it, not say it.
I have no idea.
Yeah. I'm just curious. I don't know. One of my random thoughts. But no.
That's not random. I don't think that's random. That's actually a pretty good question. I'm not sure.
Yeah. It's kind of like what your mom was saying the other day. It was confusing to me. I mean, I'd never heard it before. I mean, I've heard it. So she said that military doesn't want anybody that's not, they don't want civilians, I guess. This is what your mom said now. And she's probably going to correct me if I'm wrong about her quote. But that civilians aren't supposed to wear anything with a flag on it. Yeah.
Now,
I'd heard stuff like a towel, like a beach towel, because it has to be on the ground or it gets wet. You know, like you're doing damage kind of to it. And like you're kind of disrespecting it in a way. It doesn't have the respect that it needs. I had a previous coworker, that found out that I had a Don't Tread on Me beach towel and got upset about it because it was like disrespecting the flag.
But it's not a
American flag.
right.
But I mean, I wouldn't have bought it had I not.
I think something like that's okay.
Had I not supported it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going out there and like buying a Nancy Pelosi beach towel just so I can get it wet and throw sand on it, you know? I don't support Nancy Pelosi, so I'm not going to buy her beach towel if she had one. You know what I'm saying? Like, you only buy beach towels.
I don't know.
You only buy anything if
I've never heard
toilet paper stuff. Like,
I've never heard of
Amazon.
The civilians not being able to wear anything with a flag on it.
I could have misunderstood her.
But
I really could have.
Or she misunderstood what she heard. And I can say that. She's my mama.
Well, back to the family thing. I grew up Pentecostal holiness.
I grew up Baptist. Completely different side of the spectrum.
Yeah. I will say my dad was Baptist, and I think he was always Baptist. My mom grew up in a Pentecostal home, Pentecostal family, but they never really, I wouldn't say that they always conformed to the church. So, like, my mom cut her hair and, like, wore jewelry and stuff like that. She never got her ears pierced, but she did wear jewelry and stuff like that. She wore shorts and pants and stuff. So, then her and my dad got married. You know, they weren't Pentecostal or anything. My grandpa, he was Baptist growing up, I believe. But my grandmother's family is the ones that were, you know, Pentecostal holiness. So, therefore, I grew up Pentecostal holiness because my mom and dad started going to church. And, you know, my mom has 3 sisters and 1 brother, and 2 of the sisters were Pentecostal holiness. So, I mean, I had a lot of family that's Pentecostal and went to a local church that my great-grandparents went to. So, there's a lot of history there. But,
I grew up Baptist.
We understand, Justin. You grew up Baptist.
No.
You're still Baptist. We understand there's not much there.
We can't sing, but we love Jesus. You told me I had to articulate better.
Well, geez, I can really hear you now. What if we can't hear anything because I couldn't see any of the fries for like quite a bit of it.
Well, this is going to suck. And Friday night, we're going to be bowed up like a Halloween cat trying to get this.
Saturday night, we're in Halloween.
What? What?
That's what we should do. We should do an episode where we're just like humming songs and see if like the other one can guess what it is.
No, because I can't carry a tune.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway.
You'd win every one of them.
I'd win anyway.
Yeah, maybe. Either way, I hope you enjoy this podcast. Without further ado, this is Sleepless in Mobile. I'm your host, Elizabeth Simpson.
And I'm Justin Simpson.
And we hope you have a great night. Bye. Do it again. Cut.
Radio action.
Without further ado, this is Sleepless in Mobile. I can't stop laughing. Bloopers. Bloop, bloop.